1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the PKL Recap Show. We are here with episode number 4. Back with me again, Patrick and GClef. We're going to break down the final results of the PKL. Everything is done. All 6 weeks are over. We're through all the games. We know who's going to the Face It PUBG Global Summit. We're going to talk about those teams, who made it, who didn't, and our predictions for the Face It Global Summit. So guys, I'm just going to get right into it. People should know who you are if they've watched the show before. And let's just talk about who made it through. Patrick, we had 4 teams, but who are you really interested in, seeing what they did and how they did it?
I think we should start at the top on the OP Gaming Rangers, our new Korean champions, and the second team after Genji, who won 2 Korean titles.
Yes.
They really killed it this season, I would say, because I went some checking in the stats, and they had 23 top 4 finishes throughout entire Phase 1 out of 48 games. So they had the average that they finished in placements. They got average of 5 points per game, just for the placement alone. That's really insane. When you're going like 40 top 8 finishes and you still get this 5 placement points per game, plus the kills with the mental, which was insane this season.
Yeah,
they are killing it. They're they're beloved team for me right now, and will be really strong heading into London.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. GClef, what are your thoughts on the Rangers?
Rangers, I will put everything on Temeria. He's insane. His shot calls, I think that's the reason why, excuse me, that's the reason why they're staying together, surviving for the longest time in average. They have the entire squad. They have number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 9. So entire squad is within the top 10 of the most survival time in average of PKL. So that tells that, first of all, shot call has to be done right for them to survive that long. And having that landmark, of course, really helped them a lot. But we thought we had a lot of military circles, but actually in average, it was less than 20% for their actual game, because they don't play all 3 days in a week, only 2 out of 3. So that actually did not really help them too much, but having this kind of point, 365, that's an insane amount of points, and there's some gap in between first and second. So I think that really proves them how well they're actually doing, and Temeria keeping the team alive with those shot calling. And we can get into details, but he's just really good. We can just tell by the studies that he's done. When they move, they don't really lose any members.
Yeah,
it's all due to shot calling.
Yeah, go ahead, Patrick.
And what I would add to the Rangers pointing, they finished with less kills than the remaining 3 teams that made it to London, and still they finished like 70 points ahead of everyone. So that shows like how good they were with rotations, with placing, with.
Yeah, I mean,
out of words.
Yeah, no, they're so good. How often
were
we seeing them at the end of a match with all 4 players up and they're in the top 5 teams? I mean, almost every game you're just like, all right, well, the OP Rangers are going to be there. If it was on one of their days. So this was just a crazy good performance by them in terms of what you guys were saying, their placement, their decision making. Like you said, GClef, a lot of credit's got to go to Temeria there. And another guy that you got to look at for them is Mental, who has been their top fragger. I think he was averaging like 1.4 kills per round or something like that, which is pretty high, among the best.
I think even higher.
It might have been higher, among the best of the PKL. But like you were also saying, they don't get a ton of kills on average, but they're doing it through placement. And so this is a team that I think is really going to be interesting going into the Global Summit, because will a non-strong killing team be able to do well at the Summit? I think it's a really interesting question, especially with the way the point format works now, where kills are still worth quite a bit. So I'm excited to see what they got. All right, second place, VSG. GClef, you know how I feel about this team, but I want to start with you.
Wasn't second Fatal?
No.
Oh, Fatal. Fatal was second? I'm sorry.
Fatal was second.
Fatal is second? Oh, my
You're
bad.
fired, Paper Thin.
I'm fired.
You carried the show.
Oh, they were two. Okay, they were 2 points behind Fatal. Okay.
Well, yes. But just before the last round, they were only second, third, fourth. They were only 1 single points away. So that really determined everything. Basically.
Yeah.
1 or 2 actually.
All right, let's start with Fatal. Yeah, let's start with Fatal then. I'm just really excited. GClef, go ahead. I want to hear your thoughts on Fatal.
Okay, I'll go first because they've done something different in the last 2 weeks. Of course, I think as we go through all the teams, we'll talk more about the motorcycle. And I think they really got the speed, the momentum to move out.
Yeah.
And I want to pinpoint on Shadow. I don't think too many commentators, especially the Korean commentators, they talk about style a lot. They talk about NN, but I think Shadow is the one that's really like the turret. He stays in a point, and he basically, it's like a skill shot, target skill shot with bullets. He shoots, and he actually has number 3 on the damage charts for the entire league, and I think he's the one that survives the most among OP Gaming Rangers. He's the one that carries a lot of points for the team, and the reason why they kept on picking a lot of the points is Style actually did end up dying a lot of the times when he moved on to somewhere else. Unlike Temeria, who's actually really passive, Style's one of the aggressive ones along with NN. And Shadow was the one that basically was left sometimes, and he was the one getting a lot of placement points. So I think if they continue to do this style and they go to London, may not work as well. I think that's exactly what happened to them at PAI. A lot of high hopes for them, but actually when all things opened, they failed to do what they were able to do in Korea. So they might actually have a repeat of what they did, and hopefully they learn from the mistake and do something better.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Patrick, what do you think?
I would only add to the things that GClef said because he pretty much summed up Fatal perfectly. First thing is the motorcycles. I believe they were actually banned until week 5. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You are right. Yeah, I just was really surprised when I saw them too. I'm like, the motorcycles are back.
Yeah. So once the motorcycles are back, you can make different rotations. You can have a better scouting because you have more momentum. You can go better. The second thing I want to add is Shadow. If you remember in the past, in the very first PKL season, he was playing in Fatal. He was, I believe, one of the best snipers in Korea. Then Africa decided that they will send him to Ares. It didn't went well, and now the fact that he went back to Fatal, who was pretty much underwhelming, coming from the underwhelming PI, and he performed really just like he did in the PKL season 1 2018 with the better team, is really good for Fatal and for him. And I think Fatal will be really good. But the thing what GClef said, I think Fatal's biggest advantage is the fact that PKL is really long. So their consistency in scoring, let's say 20 points, 25 per day, is better visible in the events like PKL, which will, I think, make them struggle in London, especially against the top teams like OMG, 17, 4AM, the EU teams, Tempo Storm, Envy, and we can go on.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to look at Fatal. They're a team that I have a lot of concerns about, especially because, like you were saying, Patrick, they were underwhelming at PAI. And what's interesting to note is Freaka Freaks Fatal is the highest average damage team and did the most total damage during the PKL. But, their placements weren't quite as good as some of the other teams, maybe. There were a couple that did better, including La Vega, for example, a team that's down in 9th place. But they were doing a lot of damage, getting a fair amount of kills as well. But I think the motorcycle will help them, having that utility back for Style to use, because they like these 1-3 rotations where Style will run out ahead of the whole team, scout for a location, and like you said, NN's usually not too far behind him, and that's why NN, had the most kills for Fatal in the PKL Phase 2. So I think they're the team of the 4, honestly, that I have the most question marks about, because they really they never blew me away, and they didn't get a ton of chicken dinners, and neither did OG and Entis Force as well. They had the same amount. But I think it's they could be very consistent at the Global Summit, and that's what I'm kind of looking for. So moving on, speaking of teams that benefit from the motorcycle, now we can actually talk about the third place team, VSG. One of my personal favorite teams right now in the Korea League. And Patrick, what did you think of VSG in the PKL Phase 2?
Phase 2?
Or, yeah,
Phase
sorry,
one.
Phase 1.
Phase 2 already?
One.
Wow.
I'm like way ahead of myself today. I'm just ready to go, guys. Like, let's get some more PUBG going. Like, no, Phase 1, Patrick, Phase 1.
I think the fact that PKL ended and now we're heading into shorter event in London will be actually benefiting VSG because they are a really aggressive team, but this is an up and down situation. You either go really good, rack up a ton of points, go really good, or you're gonna flop and you're gonna struggle throughout the longer season. And I think it will be better for them in the format like London when you have 12 games and you have to give out pretty much everything you got since game 1. With the team they have, the fact they got motorcycles back is pretty much is really good. Starrod can have really great scouting. Hulk is amazing in rifling. I believe I would have to check because I forgot. Juanita and Dagster both did really good with shooting too. 1.15 both got this season.
Yeah.
1.50 average.
The whole team
This
was
team-
over a kill per round average.
Yeah,
It's
they're,
crazy.
they're the best killing team in entire league. That's why.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're heading into London pretty much way more confident than in PKL format.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. GClef, what are your thoughts on VSG?
Yep. Well, Patrick covered a lot of it, as they're one of the most aggressive teams, I think, and they need speed. They use that speed and information because they start from North Jorgopol a lot of the times. And Star-Lord is the one that gets scout. And actually, they're one of the teams that travel distance, which is a number that we don't really see too much. But OP Gaming Rangers, because they start from Military Island, I get their number has to be really high compared to the other teams. But
7.3.
VSG is actually, yes, VSG is right below them with around 7.0, 7.1. It is because it means that they need that travel that much without the motorcycles. Even without the motorcycles, they were among the top few until week 5. When they got the motorcycle, you can kind of see what happened. VSG started getting a lot of chicken dinners because they were able to get somewhere a little faster with more information, which was consistent. Even before that, they couldn't get really too many chicken dinners, but they were in top 3, 4. They were caught off by the ones pushing from behind because they were late. I think that had to do with the motorcycle a lot and the speed, which they're used to in the real practice and the games, but not in the PKL without the motorcycles. So I think with that, when they go to London and they actually have the power on the big stage, they got some experience and they actually blow things up. They blow up getting like 20 kills, 25 kills per round. And they need these kind of rounds in the big stage to win. And I think that's exactly what VSG has. But for all the members, if I look at them, Star-Lord, he's a great shot caller, and he admits all the time during the interview that he did something wrong. I feel sorry for the teammates, and I like his mindset, first of all. And Hawk, Dengche, they blow up at times. But Juanita is the one that hasn't really been doing as well for the last few weeks. So if he just steps up to the same place, the par level as the other members, I think I'm already putting them down VSG as the favorite of among the other Korean teams.
Yeah,
Can
I'm
I
with
add one
you.
more thing?
Yeah, go right ahead, Patrick.
I would also add that VSG have a really good mentality because in week 5 Monday they scored 9 points and they went in a good situation heading to London. But they really right in the week 5 Wednesday they got 36 points and in week 6 they scored 65. So even with a one-time mistake, they know how to rebound and then get better and better in the next days and rehabilitate from the mistakes they do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. I mean, this is a team that when the pressure is on has really came into their own and found, ever since PKL number 2 back in 2018, when they qualified for PAI by winning the finals, right? They had not qualified. It was Rangers, Fatal, and Entis Force that had qualified, and they were able to qualify by being the top team at the finals. I think that really got a monkey off their back, gave them a lot of confidence, and when the pressure is on, this is a team that can really do some special things, and I am really excited to see what they bring to PAI. I think it's going to be very hit or miss for them, in a way, but if they hit, they are going to have a very good chance of being one of the top, if not the top team at the Global Summit. So I can't wait for them. They're like the exciting team. They're the team that if they get a chicken dinner on a day, you're just like, okay, well, they're probably going to get another one just because they are so good. Yeah, you always just start looking for them. So I can't wait. All right, so VSG, I think we're all pretty hyped about them. The last team to qualify, and as some people have mentioned on Twitter and other places, all 4 teams are the same that qualified for PAI. So rounding this thing out was Entis Force, and GClef, you get to start us off with Entis Force.
Which was crazy. I actually did not really have my eyes on them until the starting Wednesday, because they started to win crazy amount of points. I believe around I think
53.
I have that now. Yeah, 56, I think.
Oh, more.
11, 19, 4, and 22. And 32
Jeez.
kills on Wednesday. So, because when they started on week 6, they were actually in 7th place. So for them to actually go up that much with the difference of around 35 until the first place, they had to do something different. They had to really grab all those points, grab all the kills, and get first place over and over. And they did that on Wednesday. And that's the reason why they are actually in top 4. Before that moment, I actually had no idea that they would actually come up to top 4 spot. And I think that's the reason why I think Yak and Songjang, they're really showing up to be a little better than before. Before, it seemed like a 2-2. It seemed like a team with not the full squad, but 2 duo teams. Like KL Indigo, they would 2 split. KL Indigo would do something else. Songjang Yak, they would do something else, and they had some distance in between, not like super up close, so they can actually help each other. So it was really weird. Nowadays, they're actually keeping it together, and I think they're really one of the teams, along with VSG and Africa Freaks Fatal, using a lot of the motorcycle to go into the circle, but not just to grab the compound, but grab the high hill, so they have a lot of information, so they can choose the next place where to go. So that was pretty interesting for me for OG and Entis Force.
Yeah, Patrick, you had some things to say about Force?
I would actually add to one thing that GClef said, that OGN Force started week 6 in 7th place.
Sure.
Okay. But actually, after week 3, they were starting week 4, I believe, in 11th place.
Wow.
And it was since week 4 that they started getting 60 points in each of the 3 remaining weeks. And the team really stepped up since the week 3. They felt that they have to step up. Songjang and Kai start killing. The 2-2 splitting was really good. Their positioning is improving, I believe, in my opinion, is improving.
Yeah.
The one minor weakness that I see is they're not as explosive as VSG or Rangers heading into London, but I think their consistency will make up for it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, they were second at PAI, right? They were second place.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And so, I mean, they have the ability to do that. And I mean, it's kind of a joke almost that Entis Force is always hanging around the top tiers, but they never are quite the number 1 team. Like forever, they've been like number 2, or just falling short of, they were the team behind the 2 Gen G teams that just missed out qualifying for PGI last year. And so I think I'll be really curious to see what they do, because I was really worried about them in the first half of the season. I'm like, wow, this team looks way different than what we're used to seeing. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would
Yeah.
add that OGN Force is probably the best team in Korea right now, as it comes for the historical results, because ever since they got Kyle instead of Juan Korea, they got first in Africa League Season 2, the league you casted Paperfin, fourth at OGN Season 2, fourth and OGN Super Match, second in PKL Season 2, fifth in PKL Season 2 Finals. I missed they finished second in Staladder 2 when they had the hybrid OGN team. They were
Right.
2 guys for Ace, 2 guys for Force. then they finished second in PI, and now they finished fourth in PKL. Their consistency is amazing.
Yeah,
That's a
absolutely.
long term.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, they've been one of the most solid, consistent teams for a long time, and they've had the exact same roster. So it's like you said, since they switched in Kale forever ago. I mean, that was what? That was June of last year.
June.
June.
The only difference they make is, I believe, Hyol was the fourth player for fourth until the super match when Sokjang came in.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, so Force, a team that I think, is very capable of doing well. I think any four of the teams that qualified for London are 100% capable of winning it or competing and possibly being one of the top, 2, 3, 4 teams, for sure. So we've talked about the teams that have made it. Now we got to talk about a few of the teams that didn't quite make it. DTN.
Oh.
All right, GClef, you've got the reaction. You both have reactions to this.
Here we go.
What did they do wrong? That's dangerous. They have everything in their hands.
The number one team for the first 4 weeks, right?
Can I say something?
Yeah,
Can
go
I
ahead,
add something?
Patrick.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
After 20 games, there were 205 points. They scored more points in 90 games than Tempo Storm, and Tempo Storm didn't have as hard a league as Detonator, and they fucked up.
Big time.
Big time. It was crazy. I mean, they were so far ahead of everyone. I'm like, well, okay, they're pretty much a shoo-in for London. I didn't foresee this precipitous fall that they've had. And GClef, can you give me some insight, maybe, or give us some insight into why? What happened to them?
Let me think how honest I can be on the broadcast.
Just go on.
Because I have some information. I think I can see it. Think I can see it? It doesn't matter, right?
That's up to you, man. I don't know what the information is.
No, it's not like something crazy. But Wicked has been doing some wicked things, and the community has been really toxic against him, starting from week 4. And it's something not happening during PKL. It's been done a long time ago in APL, but it just came up as a clip, and it's been really bothering him a lot. But as a player and Detonator as a org, they didn't really announce anything officially on what Wicked did a long time ago. And ever since that, they have been failing. That's actually one of the reasons, I think.
Wow.
Is why, and actually what, I talked to Jisboy, the Korean commentator, the chubbier one on the left of your screen oftentimes. And what he said was that Wicked started to actually do a shot calling that no one else does in a bad way, which means you're supposed to have your full squad even after scouting and getting all that information. But it seems like he's throwing his teammate as a bait. So that's a very different feeling.
Wow.
And I think that's the reason why they actually lost a lot of members in the rotation. Ikari didn't really pop up as much. Akka 5 couldn't really get the best place. I think it's everything just went bad together as a team, and I think that's the reason why they didn't qualify. Sorry for them, but it just happened.
Wow, that's crazy. Jeez, that's really too bad, because I mean, for the first 4 weeks they were undisputed the best team in Korea. So that's just nuts, man. Wow. Well, I mean, from an in-game perspective, go ahead, Patrick.
Maybe Joel just cursed them, because I think after week 3, day 1, he said that Detonator is the best team in Korea, and maybe he just cursed them.
He might have, Patrick. It was definitely possibly a caster curse there. It's just really interesting to see. I wonder going forward what Detonator is going to do. Are they going to remove Wicked and find a replacement? Because I mean, if they can right the ship, so to speak, they have the chance to again be one of the top teams. But if they have something an unstable element in the mix there, like they do with Wicked, then I think they've got to cut their ties and find another guy.
And I would have to add that we have just started the only trade period throughout the 2019 season.
Oh yes, that's what I was about to say too.
And they have to make you have to make a trade until the start of phase 2. Later you can make a difference until the end of PGC. So it would be a really interesting to see Korean Shuffle 4.0, as I called it.
Yeah, which is kind of weird because I think there should be another trading period between phase 2 and 3 because there's a longer break between phase 2 and 3.
They just added that Korean contenders teams will be able, but not Korean.
Yeah, only the PKC. I think maybe it's because they have to keep the squad together for the number 2 global and the another global that they're gonna have in July or August. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you guys think? Who would be a good trade for Detonator? I'm throwing
Sexy
a bit of a
Pig. I think it's a good topic to move out to the next team's number 6, who doesn't exist anymore.
Where the fuck is he?
He's benched, man. They brought in Benz and they started doing a heck of a lot better. So, okay.
Until week 6.
Until week 6. Yeah, they did not have a good week 6. They really did not have a good week 6. But I think I'm with you, GClef. I think Sexy Pig would be a great pickup for them. I mean, as long as you can tame that beast that is Sexy Pig and his extreme aggressiveness, I think that team has a lot of firepower, so they could absolutely play well with him.
And I think that is a problem because he is a shot caller, so he have to call himself.
Yeah.
Which that needs to change.
Yeah, hopefully maybe the benching will give him some time to kind of think about things. But that gives us a good segue to talk about the 6th place team. OPGG Hunters, just falling short, not quite living up to the same level as their sister team, the Rangers. Patrick, the Hunters changed a lot, but they just came up short. What are your thoughts on them?
Just like GClef have just ranted on Detonator, I'm gonna rant on OP Gaming Hunters. What the fuck they did in week 6? For fuck's sake!
They were up there, I don't know. It just the wheels just fell off the bus. It just looks like they couldn't do anything.
Saturday was just shit rotating all the fucking day.
I know. Can I raise my hand?
Go ahead, GClef. Yeah. Let GClef
you wanna talk?
Finish your stuff and then I can talk.
Okay, I will just shortly recap what the hell they did in the rotations on Saturday. Miramar game 1, they rotated to OP Gaming Ace, and for some goddamn reason they left Pio alone on the west side of the team.
Yes.
And Benz decided to join him just as he was killed. And pretty much
Geekin.
Suck and Geekin. They pretty much have to, instead of trying to help them, they had just to run because they were in 2v3 at this point. Game 2, they decided to take a boat from the western bridge. The problem was OGM Force was at Lighthouse and they were just waiting for them to enter this boat so they can unload a barrage of bullets at them. Before they entered the coast, boat was pretty much next to destroyed. Bez was dead. I believe Geekan was dead. And OGM Force immediately rotated back to the Sosnovka Island and just waited for hunters to come to them again.
Yeah.
Game 3... wait, was that game 3? Yeah. In game 3, they had a situation that they were rotating in front of Roshok, and for some reason they decided, hey, let's just send our ace player Pio in the compound to check a compound where Africa Fix Fatal is. Boom, he's dead. Then they decided again, let's rotate up, to the hill between the farm and the Milta compounds, the compounds on the north of Milta. But the problem was, on the farm there was like 3 teams. In the one compound on the north was APK, and on the Milta checkpoint was King's Road. Gak, again I said Gak, Sak and Geekan decided to stay on the hill, but Benz decided, well, why I don't go in the checkpoint straight into 1v4 against King's Road. And in game 4, let me remind myself what they did.
Yeah,
Wait.
round 4, I think they went to a military base for no, I don't know reason.
No, the military was in game 2.
Okay.
Game 2.
They also had some rotation in game 4, but
Of game 4, they got wiped by Square, right?
no, by Element Mystic.
Yes.
When they rotated again, they rotated to the compound and in the Milta, but in the rotation, PO first stopped to try and kill one guy from La Vega aim for some reason. Benz managed to get in the building. Zack, I believe, was the third guy. He went into the wall of the garage building and he got destroyed by EM. Geekan was next. He got again another destroyed. Then PO came back, but at that moment it was again 3v2 versus EM, and Ian just rushed OP Gaming with nades and they finished their hopes on making to the London with 5 points Saturday.
Right. Well, the whole team just throughout the season just seemed to be lacking. GClef, do you have some more thoughts on the Hunters?
Yeah, just a lot more gossip information on Hunters. Ben's after week 4. He has been, of course, he streams a lot, but he has been streaming a lot of Call of Duty and Apex for I don't know reason. As a pro player, I think you should only focus on your game. And it's okay to have fun, but if you have too much fun on the other games, it will eventually affect you. And exactly as Patrick pointed out in detail, they have been just bumping into a place for a wipe for no information, where Benz actually did not do that when he came back into the season. And the week, I believe, 3, was it?
Week
2, okay.
No, in week 1 it was both Sexy Pick and Benz replaced him in week 2.
Mm-hmm. And starting from that, like after 2 weeks, they have been doing a little better. And after that, he didn't really use the information. That had to do with his personal stuff. And he did cry on stream that he does regret doing all that. But you can't really do that as a pro. You can't just send one, get the information. I think they really had something else going on. But PO is the one that I really wanted to highlight. He actually had one of the most damage and kills in total
I
among
think
all
he
the
had
pro
the best
players.
killing in the season, actually.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually the best one.
Yeah.
And he did that last year too. So he's the one I think is set, including Sexy Pig, that has to either escape the team or bring in someone else, because
No.
certainly
I would actually keep Hunters just like they are right now. So Benz, PO, Geekan, and Zack.
Mhm.
But don't make these mistakes like you did on Saturday. Because even with the thing you said that Benz went streaming Apex and Call of Duty after week 4, Hunters was the best team in week 5 actually. With 70, I believe, 2 points.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
Ben's
the
really
one
needs
thing
to get
that-
his personal stuff down. I think that's affecting his team too much. Of course, he's the hot potato, so the community likes to shit on him all the time. But as a pro, you got to collect things together, because what you say during the shot call, because there was a game where the circle went all the way up north. I don't know which, among the last week, I don't know which game. And they got wiped by
Week
Square.
6 on Wednesday or Monday.
They got wiped by Square because Pia was the one watching behind, coming out of Jurgopol, and he actually said, "There's someone behind you guys," but Benz was talking too much to the teammates and too loudly, and it was actually on the stream. So I heard Pio saying it, but at the time they were busy talking about something else, and they didn't hear that. They got wiped by Square because of that. So these kind of stuff cannot happen, and that has been a consistent mistake in weeks number 6. Like their communication was just all over.
We're getting the guest. The special guest is here again, making an announcement in my building again. Oh my god! Why is it on Mondays at 5:30 every time?
Maybe
I gotta check. All right,
timing right.
Maybe
All
it's
right.
just set on this.
we're changing the day for next season, so we don't or the time, so we don't have to deal with this. Good lord.
Or just change the hour.
Can I mute this thing? I don't even know. I doubt it.
I think you can lower the volume by going to the control pad. That's
Yeah.
possible.
I can't read it, GClef. It's all in Korean, man. I don't even. What's the word for volume? Something.
It's usually says volume.
Volume. Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully they'll be done here quickly, because I had a few things that I want to talk about with the Hunters. First of all, PO this season averaging 1.75 kills per round. That's almost 2 kills per round. That's absolutely insane. Like,
Yeah, that's a monster number.
That's a monster number. And what's
And
weird?
I would add that he was pretty much most of the time at the back of the team.
Yeah.
As
He was
a pretty much support role.
Right. He's just so good with snipers. I mean, he's just absolutely insane. Suck should be really good with snipers too. Fell off a little bit this season. Geekin has probably been really disappointing. In the 2018 PKL number 2, he averaged 1.42 kills per round. Now he's down to 0.92. So clearly things were a bit of a struggle here for the Hunters, and I'm really curious to see how they go forward because there is so much talent on that team in terms of just raw slaying ability. That I think, we'll see how it goes. But I think I'd like to see them stay together, and hopefully Benz can get it figured out. But I think Sexy Pig should jump ship. I think he should be trying to find another team.
Go to Genji!
Go to Genji! Go back to this home. to Genji. Good. Okay, so let's talk about a couple more teams. I want to do 2 more teams that didn't quite make it. We'll do the 7th and 8th place teams here. And then we'll go on and talk a little bit about what we think is going to happen in London. So our 7th place team, arguably the most consistent team in terms of placements in the PKL, Element Mystic. Let's start with GClef this time on Element Mystic.
Yep, Element Mystic has been skipping scrims for I don't know reason. So I do happen from time to time, not every day, but like about maybe 2 times, sometimes 1, 2, 3. And I do get information from the Korean casters because I talk to them a lot. And I just heard from GC Boy that EM doesn't really show up to scrims for some reason. It does happen pretty early, sometimes like 2 p.m. And they show up for the later one that happens at like 6 p.m. But always for the first one, they're either really late or they don't show up. And I think that maybe something's wrong with the members. So a lot of these teams that fell out from the top had some personal issues or team issues, communications. I don't exactly know, but they had a lot of stuff falling out. Because EM, I think they have been quite consistent, actually getting some chicken dinners here on and out. At placement point, in terms of placement point, they actually had a lot. They were getting really good placements in game, moving up, sneaking into all the places without really having anyone notice. These kind of personal issues really affecting the team. I'm really sad to hear at the same time. But they went down. I think they were in like top 3 at a point.
Yeah.
No, I think their best was 5th place actually.
5th. Oh yes, by week 5.
Most of the season really close to the London, but not made top 4, I believe.
Yeah. Well, they were just averaging so many high place finishes that I thought they might just do it through sheer just consistency. I mean, they were in the top 8 71% of the time, and that's just a little bit better than the Rangers and Fatal, who were 67% of the time ending up in the top 8.
And let's not even talk about VSG.
Yeah, VSG, they were not so great at
22,
that.
22 top 8.
They just got a bunch of kills. That's how they propelled themselves there. But Element Mystic, I think, is a really fascinating team to keep our eyes on going forward. They're not flashy. They're not going to just, knock your socks off and kill a ton of people, but they're just sneaky and they find ways to get some placement points. So go ahead.
Can I also talk about EM?
Absolutely.
The interesting thing about EM is they finished 7th with a roster of guys who are pretty much unknown for a lot of Western fans. If you look at their roster, we got Ryan, who stayed entire PKL Season 2 on the bench in OP Gaming Rangers. We have Lash, or in the past he was Blaster X. He played in OP Gaming Rangers, then he went to the nightmare that is called Kongdu Gilisut. We have Siege that was kicked, I believe, from MVP. And we have Kira V, who from some reason was out of the Danawa from this season. And Ruby, but he's the 5th and he's pretty much unknown for anyone. And with that roster, they finished 7th. But the 2 things I think they have to improve is, one, they don't have firepower, because the 6 teams that we talk, I'm missing a lot of shit today. The 6 teams above them all had at least 40 kills more than Element Mystic, and 40 points in PKL is a lot, especially with current 2019 rule set. That is the thing that they should get someone who will carry more of the team in terms of firepower. And the second team is getting actually better in consistency because they got the most top 8, 34 top 8 finishes out of 48 games. But they got second most points in placements after OP Gaming Rangers that got 159, EM got 141. And they had, I believe, out of the 44 top 8s, they had only 60 top 4s, so their average placement is only like 4 something. In comparison to OP Gaming Rangers who have 5.
Right.
So, a lot of times they are ending in the top 8, but they have 1 or 2 games remaining, and they can't do much in the terms of getting additional kills and placement. And they just struggle to get, let's say, 5th, 6th, 7th place, so 3, 2, 1 points.
Yeah, definitely the issue with EM is not their shot calling or decision making. It's just being able to have steady guns and good, regular killing ability to, they find their way to get into those later game situations, those top 8 situations, but to really propel yourself to the higher placements like OP Rangers do, you got to get some kills on top of it to get yourself ahead. So I think they're a team that, I think if they pick up a little bit more firepower, I think Lash is their shot caller.
I just noticed they had 8 top 8 finishes more than OG and Force on 4th place, but OG and Force had actually more finishes in top 4.
That's actually true. You're right. Yeah, OGN had 18 and Element Mystic had 17. So wow, that's crazy. I think Lash is their shot caller, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
I think he is because they're the one.
No. Siege is actually, I think.
Siege
or Lash. Because
Siege
was shot caller MVP.
Ah, okay. So it might be Siege. Okay, that would make sense. But they're looking. I mean, they're consistent, but they need some killing. Last team we got to talk about. We'll round out the top 8 here. A team that actually is of the ones that's up here is the one that surprises me the most. I didn't quite realize they'd finish 8th. Is SK Telecom T1. The SKT team is here at 8th place. I personally don't have a lot to talk about with them. But go ahead.
I think they went under the radar this season, especially because they didn't have really good 3 weeks. But then we talked about before that had a really good week 4, and in week 5 they again looked slightly better than in the past. I think there will be a team to keep an eye in 2019 Phase 2 because they are a good team. They know what they're doing even more. Their guys are getting more experience because we had 2 rookies in the team. We got a ACAP and ACAT and Taeyong are actually rookies. Only Jeff Loka and other were in PKL Season 2. Mm-hmm. So they have a really good potential to get to the top 4, top 5 that's making into the Phase 2 Classic.
Yeah, they were a really strong team on one week. Was that week 4 that they did really well?
Yeah.
Or was it week 4 that they looked really, really good? But they got to find ways to be consistent. I think going forward, with those new players and stuff. I mean, Dangche was a rookie, last season in the 2018 Phase 2 PKL and for VSG, and he stepped up big the first couple weeks and kind of helped them propel themselves towards that eventual PII, placement and victory. But Telecom, there were times where they just flat. I mean, the first couple weeks they looked really bad. So we'll see what happens. Average. Yeah, average. Yeah, definitely. So I don't know. Do you have anything to talk about them with, GClef?
I think Adder was definitely one of the ones that acted like a turret, had really nice shots. But Jeff Luca actually has one of the better numbers in the team, and they create lots of different factors. Like they stay at a spot where the other teams are rotating, and they try to get those kills instead. So they had a unique rotations among all the other Korean teams. I think that kind of helped when it worked, but those kind of factors, it's one of those, if it works, it's good, but oftentimes it doesn't work at the same time. So maybe if they shift gears into more of a trendy rotation as SKTT1, but for a new roster like that, I think they really did great for Phase number 1.
Yeah, definitely a team to keep our eyes on going forward. And I'd love to cover more teams, but we just don't really have time. But that rounds out the top 8 of the PKL Phase 1 for 2019. Can't wait to see what the 4 teams bring for us in London. So let's talk about our predictions for what we think is going to happen with our 4 Korean teams in London. Let's go with Patrick first. Patrick, what are you thinking will happen with our Korea teams?
I think we can watch them and be proud of them at the end. Rangers will be really good. I think they will make top 5. VSG will be actually a bit, like we said, hit or miss. They can win the tournament, but they can finish like, say, 10th or 12th. Africa Fatal, the thing is, like I said, they're not as good in the format of London when you have less games and the consistency isn't actually as important as in the PKL. But they should make the final with ease. And OG Enforced, I'm not sure how would they make it, because the big elephant in the room is they will have to share Pochinki with 70 Gaming.
Right.
With Show who is amazing fragger. Shucks, who is their shot caller, and Show is knowing Show for pretty much over a year now. They have 2 another guys who just joined the team, but they look really good, and they finished second behind the everlasting, unstoppable Chinese force that is known as ONG. And we will have to see in London how OG and Force will adapt to the 70. Will they be able to push 70 out, or will have to play different in London?
Gotcha. All right. So that's Force. Force is what I'm really curious to see how they do in London. GClef, what are you thinking about our Korea teams for London?
Yeah, of course, Rangers. I think they are going to be one of the more consistent one out of the 4. Along with VSG. VSG has the explosive power they can bring if they have some, because this one's a longer one than PAI, because we have a lot more teams, and then they sort out the first few teams, and then we have the actual finals. It's 6 days, if I'm not.
But the final is shorter, actually, I think.
The grand finals are 12 matches. 12 matches.
So even with that, I think they can really show up. And consistency is one, but you need explosive rounds with like 20 kills, getting maybe 30 plus points in a round, close to 30 points, 25. That's really good too. But in terms of that, like OG and Entus Force and Africa Freaks Fatal, they're not really the team that reminds me of those explosive rounds too much. And maybe they can get around it, because at a time at a global event, all these 4 teams, they've been to PAI. They have a lot of experience, especially OG and Entus Force. They went to Star Ladder, PAI second place, but they do have really bold experiences over there. So for Rangers, I think among the 4 teams, I would put Rangers on top. The second one's hard. I'm trying to choose between AFF and VSG. I'll put VSG on the second, and then AFF, OG and Entus Force on the 4th, for the teams to look out for. And we can have at least 2 of the 4 teams among the top 6.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask next. 2 of the 4 among the top 6. Patrick, you had something.
I would also have to add that I believe we actually underestimated OG and Force also at PI. So maybe it's actually a good thing for them to not go with high expectations.
That's a good point.
And in Macau, they know how to deal with 70.
That's true. They did. They really handled themselves so. Yeah, I think personally, I have some really high expectations for the Korean teams. If I'm gonna rank them, I'm gonna go VSG number 1, OP Rangers number 2, Fatal 3, and Entus Force 4. But I think Fatal and Force are going to be pretty close to each other in the results. I could be wrong on that. I really think that VSG, if we see the right team there, if we see the team that we think we know that has the potential, when their backs are against the wall, this is a team that really finds ways to get it done. I think they could definitely rip off a top 3, if not win the event. The Rangers are very capable of pulling off a top 5, possibly winning the event. I think you're going to see 3 of the 4 Korean teams for sure in the grand finals. One of the 16 teams that'll be there, if not all 4. I wouldn't be too surprised to see all 4, as well as all 4 China teams.
I think it will be a close race.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that, Patrick. That's why I said 3 of the 4. I'm kind of wishy-washy. on Fatal and Force a little bit. But for me, it's just I think VSG has the best chance to really just show up there, get through the group stage. Maybe they won't necessarily be one of the 8 teams that just automatically gets a ticket to the grand finals after the group stage, but they'll find a way to get to that grand finals and I think they'll just start ripping faces. So I'm really excited for it, guys. Anything else you guys got for us today?
I do want to talk about one thing that's special about Korean teams. Watch out for their frags. I think Korea is actually the best region with the grenades. Using smokes in a way, different strategy, not really, but in terms of the skill and how exactly you time your frag and throw and get the kill points just like that, I think Korea is actually one of the best. I've been watching a lot of NPL and of course PEL right now, and we don't really see the same scenery too much, like grabbing that many grenades. Of course, Korean team tends to take a little more frag because they think the ammo is not really important as much. Maybe it will be. I don't think there will be any massive patches because I know a lot of the community has been saying like nerf frag, it's too strong, the radius is too big, or something like that. But if they keep exactly the same for London, Korean teams are going to have a blast with all those frag kills.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen that a lot. Yeah, in the past.
I don't think we'll have a change with nades until after London because patch 27 will be soon. So I think we will either stay on patch 26 or we go to 27 heading into London. But
I imagine they'll stay on 26.
But I would also have to mention a bit 2 teams that actually are relegated but had a really good week.
The relegations. Okay.
Griffin White and Cesty Esports, and I'm quite disappointed that they kept their best weeks for week 6. If they had a really good week 5, then we would end in the situation that we have like 8 teams heading into week 6, all with knowing that they need to go really well, or they will go to end on the trip to OGN. But unfortunately, both Griffin White and Cesty finished in the relegation. Maxtel improved over the last 3 weeks. They got a bit more consistent, but the fact they got really low in the first 3 weeks have screwed them up. Africa Orange will have to watch out in Phase 2 because they finished just above the relegation. And APK, I don't know yet about the square because they are so much up and down.
Team Square's they're not going down though.
Yeah, they're not relegated.
Can I just go for a second because someone is calling?
Okay, no problem, dude. Go ahead.
I do have a thing to talk about relegation.
Yeah.
It's about Saturday because Monday, Wednesday it starts at 7 p.m. But Saturday we have the match starting at 2 p.m., which is actually crazy for the gamers. Just think about the pro gamers; they sleep when the sun comes up, like 6-7 a.m. For them to actually wake up, they're used to that pattern. Of course, they're pro. They have no excuse when the broadcast goes on 2 p.m. They have to be there on a perfect condition. But I've been seeing a lot of this pattern on Saturdays where the results are just crazy. All the good teams suddenly just go down all the way to like 13th, 14th place. And we have teams like Susty, Griffin White among the top 4, top 5 many, many times on Saturday only. And I think that's affecting the players somewhat. Maybe in Phase 2, the time can be shifted, so a lot of teams can actually have a lot more consistent plays. I think it's affecting a lot of the players.
Well, and for viewership as well, the viewership is less on those Saturday afternoons, even among the Korean audience. So I think they should find another. Ideally, they'd find another night time to do it, whether that be like a Sunday night or a Saturday night or something. I think that would be better. But yeah, I think it also affects the players as well. I think the one thing I'm really keying in on for the Global Summit, just going back to this quick, is the motorcycles are back, which is a big deal for teams like VSG and Africa Freaks Fatal, who love these 1-3 splits where they send out their shot caller, Starlord or Style in this case, way out ahead of the other team, and they do it very quickly, and it allows them to make aggressive rotations to get into the positions they want, much safer than using a UAZ or something like that. So I think that's one thing to key in on. What the frags, like you said, GClef. Another thing to watch for is the fact that a couple of these Korean teams, most notably VSG, likes to use the bolt action snipers from time to time. I haven't seen it as much from VSG recently, but I think that's the reason for that is twofold. Obviously, if you're good at landing those headshots and getting those knocks, that's a huge advantage for your team. And also, you don't have to carry as much ammo for the gun, which gives you more space for utility with grenades and smokes and that kind of thing. So I'm kind of curious to see how that proceeds or how that will play out going into the global summit. So this is good.
I would actually wait to see how this goes in phase 2 because it will be after patch 27 when we getting the snipers buff.
Yeah, that's
I
gonna
think there
be
might be actually a big meta change.
Yes.
In that difference, that we're gonna see way more bolt action sniper rifles because of their more powerful usage.
100%, Patrick. And I actually am excited about that because I think the bolt action snipers
M16
and the M16 buff.
What?
No.
No. Maybe we'll see some M16. We haven't seen that gun too much. We saw Star-Lord with it the other day, I think. Or somebody had it. I can't remember. I thought it was him. But I think the bolt action snipers are actually like really exciting, and I think that's a really good change they made. It'll be good for the game. So, well, guys, I think we should. Yeah, I think we should. I think we should about wrap this up. We've been going for about an hour now, so this has been the final episode for phase number 1.
Oh.
We are going to be back for phase number 2, I promise. I can't wait for phase number 2 to get started. I can't wait for the Global Summit, April 16th.
Yes.
I'm so excited. It is going to be so killer. I'm also really curious to see how all these teams have, changed and how they'll interact now after, almost 8-9 months since PGI. So just let's get hyped, boys, and
A bit less. Because the last international event was Starladder because PGL doesn't have Korean, so
Right.
it doesn't count.
Right. Yeah, Star Ladder was kind of there were Chinese teams at Star Ladder, right? Or no?
Yeah, until group stage.
Until group stage. Okay, yeah. Okay. So it's going to be really exciting, guys. Thank you both so much for joining me. This has been great. You guys are great guests. I think we had a lot to talk about today in the last couple weeks as well. We really broke this thing down, so I hope people enjoyed it, and we'll be back in the future. So that's it for PKL Phase 1, the recap show. We're done. We'll see you guys in a couple months when the PKL comes back in May.